Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Wednesday, November 25th, 2020, and today we're going to be talking about the southwestern region of the United States, where we see a pretty significant shift leftward, and we have been seeing that for the past 2 decades. So first things first, if you're wondering where this map is from, it's from map.jacksonjude.com. It does look very similar to the YAPMS map. It's just the outline, the data here. There's a lot of interesting things on this website, so go ahead and check it out yourself. But I'm going to be using it because it shows past election results and applies the margins where you can actually customize them. Really great website, really informative. Go ahead and check it out. The link will also be in the description down below. So if you're looking at the 2000 presidential election map, you might be wondering, why are we using this map? Well, I'm using this map because this was the last time that there was an exceptionally close presidential election and an election that the Republican Party won. I figured that we would use this election, considering that it's the only Democratic victory in the 21st century that was this close, and 2000 was the only Republican victory that was this close, or the closest, I should rather say, in the 21st century. So I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the entire shift in some of these regions of the country. And I also want to point out that it's not just here that we saw leftward momentum. I'm going to make a couple of other videos talking about how certain states are moving towards the left and certain regions are moving towards the right as well. But one thing that really struck out to me that may actually be surprising to you is Oregon. And that is a state that Al Gore won by 0.4% compared to President-elect Biden, who won it by 16%. So both vice presidents, but only one of them actually obliterated their opponent in the state of Oregon. So that's besides the point. We're going to be looking at a region that's slightly under the state of Oregon. What I deem, I guess you could say, southwestern region would just be this region in particular. Now you see how Democratic the states have actually gotten. But I'm not going to dabble too much into Oklahoma or Kansas, just because these are states that we really don't focus on. And we're also not seeing the same type of demographic shift that we see in other parts. Sure, we see an increase in population pretty much everywhere just because the United States is growing. But I really wanted to focus on these 7 states in particular. I just thought that this would be the best use of our time. No need to focus on Oklahoma and Kansas when all 7 of these states were competitive at some point in the 21st century, even California and Utah. So let's take a look at these shifts. So if you're wondering what the margins are, anything over a 15-point margin shift towards the Democratic Party is in solid blue. So that includes Texas. This is compared to the 2000 election. Like I said, I'm comparing the closest Republican victory to the closest Democratic victory in the 21st century. So Utah, Colorado, Texas, and even California got a lot bluer than where they were before. California surprisingly only went to Al Gore by roughly 12%. That is the same margin of victory that South Carolina went red this time around. So if you think South Carolina is safe, maybe you would have thought California was safe, but there was a very invested in Senate race here, and a lot of Democrats thought that South Carolina may be surprising. But it's also just not that. I mean, Ohio went to Trump by 8 points this election. California was just 2.8% higher than, actually not 2.8, 3.8% higher than Ohio's margin of victory for Trump this time around. So California was close. In fact, it was closer in 2004, but I didn't use this as my reference point just because this was a little bit larger victory for George Bush, and it would have been the same exact type of shift that we saw. But California, John Kerry only won by single digits. That's pretty interesting, and that would have been very worrisome for the Democratic Party if that trend continued. But then the 4 years following, California overwhelmingly went blue. But 2000, George Bush won this election, and he did so by running it up in a number of these key states that were actually blue just 4 years prior. Take a look at the 1996 map. And when it converted over, we saw a number of states shift to the right, and that pretty much set a new precedent. Following Bill Clinton, we haven't seen the Democratic Party run a Southern Democrat on the presidential level besides Al Gore, who was from Tennessee but wasn't able to carry that state on the presidential level. And since then, a lot of the Democratic Party favorites, Democratic Party nominees, haven't exactly been from southern states. You have Kerry, you have Obama, you have Clinton, and now Biden, all from, I guess you could say, the upper half of the United States. So that wasn't exactly the easiest thing, the best thing the Democratic Party could have done if their main focus was winning over the South. But realistically, they don't have a grip on the South like they used to. So there may be some parts where the Democrats did better in the South compared to their current election now, but looking at this entire region, it was a lot redder. Look at Texas. This was a 21.3% margin of victory for George Bush. Joe Biden only lost it by 6 points this time. That is a 15.3% shift leftward in just under 2 decades. Can you imagine by the time we reach around 2045, 2050, when the majority of the United States is actually composed of minorities? I know that may seem weird, but we're talking about combining the Asian demographic group, the Hispanic demographic group, Black demographic group, all of these groups that are traditionally minorities, which would still very well be minorities because there's still that plurality of white people, but combined, it would be a point where minorities would, in fact, be the majority. So I know it's kind of weird to think about, but that's if you're adding all of the minority groups together. And at some point, we probably won't do that, but that's just how we're looking at the eventual racial breakdown of our country. And the reason why that's important is because it's very possible in 2 decades that Texas becomes a solid Democratic state. And it's not just Texas. Had you told Al Gore that Colorado would have voted for Biden by 14%, New Mexico for Biden by 11%, Arizona for Biden by 0.3%, the fact Arizona was even going to a Democrat in the first place was pretty significant. And Nevada, went to Biden by 2 points. If you're looking back, Bush won Nevada, Bush won Arizona, Bush won Colorado, and also Utah by 41%. It's not that Donald Trump had a third-party nominee this time. Looking at the 2016 election, Evan McMullin didn't exactly do as well as he could have, but he took a pretty significant portion of the vote away from Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton received 27% of the vote in Utah. This time, Joe Biden received 39% of the vote in Utah. This comes as a result of a bunch of these Mormon voters that traditionally elected Republicans. Absolutely. Look at the Romney margin of victory 4 years prior to Trump's presidency. Romney won it by 48%. This was a solid Republican state, the most conservative state. Wyoming couldn't even reach those margins. Idaho couldn't even reach those margins. I believe maybe only Nebraska's 3rd district didn't even vote as large as rightward as Utah. And then 2016 comes around and it swings by over 20 points. 30 points, actually. Not necessarily in favor of the Democrats, but to third-party candidates. And then 2020 rolls around, and there isn't a notable third-party candidate on the ballot. And Utah only gives Donald Trump a victory by 20 points. 20 points in Utah. That is a very significant shift, and it's something that cannot be ignored. So Utah, Colorado, California, like I said, we can compare it back to 2000. You can take a look at where it was then. Gore won it by 11.8%. It was still 54 electoral votes, almost as large as it is today, only off by 1 electoral vote. Not very populous and could have broken the election for the Democratic Party. Can you imagine if California had gone red? We've seen larger swings in the past. In 2008, when Obama nearly won Missouri, when he won Indiana, those were both double-digit swings. I believe that, actually, we have the data right here, so we can take a look at it. Indiana went to Bush by 21%, and then the year after, or 4 years after, went to Obama by 1%. So crazier swings have happened. It was not impossible for the Republicans to win California at that point, but it absolutely is today. And when you're looking at this entire region, there must be a reason as to why. You have to understand why this entire region is going blue. I've told you that it's gone blue, but now we need to understand it. Well, first things first, let's take a look at this map. This is the white non-Hispanic population percentage by state in 2012. So it's actually gotten a little bit better for Democrats following this, considering that it was 8 years ago. But look at the lightest red region of the country. The more red that a state gets, it means that it has a heavier white population. That's what it means by white non-Hispanic population. So look at this entire southwestern region. Specifically California, New Mexico, Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. These are states that are within, less than 60% or even less than 50% of a white population. And that's the reason as to why, we're starting to see overwhelming support for Democrats in these states, because it wasn't like this a few decades ago. It was not like this. The entire country was a lot whiter than it is today, which is exactly why in nearly 2 decades, a little bit over that, we will see the entire country be majority minority. Right now, the white population takes up 70% of the entire United States population. The fact that is going to dwindle by 20% means the GOP and a number of other areas are going to start losing voters. Maybe other political parties that aren't exactly the Republican Party, but still believe in really some of them being outwardly anti-immigration, not the Republican Party, but some more radical political parties. And overall, this is just going to reduce the amount of right-wing ideas that we will see in this country. Because yes, Joe Biden didn't exactly perform as well amongst the demographic groups that Hillary Clinton dominated Donald Trump over in 2016, but he still won them. The only racial group that Donald Trump won over Joe Biden was the white voter. 67% of voters. So they have the overwhelming majority. But as we start seeing that chipped away, we will see more support for Democrats and more Democrats being elected statewide, locally, nationally. Black voters make up 13% of the voting demographic. Hispanic voters make up 13% of the voting demographic. Asian voters, 4%. Other, 4%. Once that grows, and 33% of non-white voters, once that grows to 50 or over 50, it's game over for the modern Republican Party. But that's not the major point of this. When we're looking at those states that are in the light red, there's a reason why they're bluer now than they were before, because they have a larger minority population. These states, according to the census.gov website, you can find the states that are the fastest growing states. In the top 14, we see all 7 states. California's number 1, number 2 is New Mexico, Arizona's number 4, Nevada's number 5, Utah's number 7, Colorado number 14, Texas is number 10. So all 7 of the states are top 14, and if you take out Colorado, top 10. All of these states are rapidly growing. They are growing pretty large in population, and most of these people that are moving to these states, first of all, it's on the southern border, number 1, and also these states are very open to accepting a lot of immigrants. You know, a lot of the times when you see the minority populations moving to Texas and California, it's because of opportunities, and also sometimes it just makes the most economic sense. And also, these states already have a very large non-white population, so it's not as if this would be surprising to see compared to maybe Maine or Vermont or New Hampshire, where we see an overwhelming majority of the white population, greater than 90%, where this wouldn't exactly be a very general area where you would see a lot of minorities moving. A lot of them do move to the Sun Belt region, and that makes sense. And that's exactly why the entire Sun Belt region, maybe not just the southwestern region of the United States, but the entire Sun Belt right around this area, take a look at it. It is the lightest red part of the country. Look at the direct opposite of it up in the north. It's a lot darker in terms of the red shade. So looking at the south, not just the southwestern region, but the the Sun Belt in total, we see a very large minority population, and it's only going to continue to grow. So when you look at these states, you have to ask, why are these states way more Democratic than they were at the beginning of the 21st century or the last close Republican victory? California has gotten more than 15 points bluer. Colorado has gotten more than 15 points bluer. Texas has gotten more than 15 points bluer. Utah as well. Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona, let's look at those swings. 2000, Nevada, Bush plus 3.5. Today, Biden plus 2.0. That is a 5.5% swing. Likely. Arizona, Biden wins. In 2000, Bush wins it by 6.3%. A 6.6% shift. Likely. New Mexico, Gore wins it by 0.1, exceptionally close. Biden wins it by 11 points. That's over a 10-point swing. Likely. So all of these states move very significantly in favor of the Democratic Party. And the reason for that is because of the growing minority population. Not only does it already have a very large minority population, but it is growing very rapidly. Phoenix, Arizona is the fastest growing city in this country, and its suburbs are only getting bluer. Texas, perfect representation. Look at 2012 as the last time a Democrat won before Joe Biden. Texas was still Romney plus 15.8%. It was still not close. It was closer than 2000, but this was the start of the states getting even bluer. Romney, 15.8%. 2016, Trump plus 9. This time, Trump plus 6. So getting bluer, sure, election year after election year, it still may vote red. But at some point, it's going to become a state that flips over to the Democrats, and very similarly to California, could become the next Democratic stronghold. A population center, very large with its electoral count, could go to the Democrats. I mean, look at California prior to the 2000 election. California, besides Bill Clinton's victories there, he still didn't win him by large margins. 13% in 1992. If we go to 96, 13% as well. You go to 1988, California went to Bush. So it was still very much in play for a lot of the years following that victory, even up till the year 2004. Only a single-digit victory for John Kerry. And then 2008 rolls around, drastically shifts leftward, as does the entire West Coast. 2012 gets even, actually not exactly bluer, slightly moves down. But if you're looking at the margin, still very, very blue. 30 points for Clinton, and I think today it's 29 point something for Biden. So 29 exactly. So this entire region, compared to 2000 and really previous elections prior to that, this entire region, not just California, but also Texas and every single state, all 7 of the states have gotten bluer. Just for the sake of looking at it, let's see if Kansas and Oklahoma have gotten bluer or redder. Bush plus 20.8, Bush plus 21.9. Let's check now. I think it may be Kansas gotten bluer, yes, but Oklahoma has not. So Oklahoma's gotten redder, but Kansas has gotten bluer. So that's just that. If you're interested, you can always find this. Like I said, the link will be in the description down below. Go ahead and find it if it's not there, because I might have forgotten. I don't think I will, but it's map.jacksonjude.com, and you're just going to go to source up here, press past elections, and then use this bar to move back and forth. But major takeaway here, the reason why this entire region of the country is getting bluer rapidly is because of the increasing population that comprises mostly of minorities, and because of the fact that the Republican Party has still yet to win over any demographic group except for white voters. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below. Subscribe on the left if you haven't already, and check out the Instagram and Twitter. At the bottom left of the screen, there's also a Discord server for you to go ahead and join. On the screen, there's a video you can watch, and then a playlist for my post-2020 election analysis videos. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all later today.